I'm assuming, Cathie, that you're going to hold to your Bitcoin forecast for, what is it, $1 million per coin by 2030. That still feels good to you.
Yes, and you can, sometimes you need to battle test. You need to go through crises to see who the real, to see the survivors first of all, but really to battle test the infrastructure and the thesis. And again, we think Bitcoin is coming out of this smelling like a rose because of what I have mentioned previously. And I do think the one thing that will be delayed is perhaps institutions stepping back and just saying, okay, do we really understand this? And once they actually do the homework and see what's happened here, I think they might be more comfortable moving into Bitcoin and perhaps Ether as a first stop. Because they'll understand it more.
One major exchange CEO suspected trouble at FTX over 6 months ago. CME Group CEO Terry Duffy says he told FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried to face, quote, to his face, I should say, "You're a fraud. You're an absolute fraud." That was back in March during a meeting with him. Duffy recounted this conversation just days ago with Guy and Dan for their podcast On the Tape. Terry Duffy is here now to take us deeper into that encounter. Terry, this is absolutely fascinating, and what we're finding out now is no surprise to you months ago. How long did it take you to figure out that this guy was a fraud?
Well, Melissa, I don't know if I knew he was a fraud right away. I just didn't, know what his business was. Here he is. He's trading an inefficient arbitrage out of Hong Kong, making all this money supposedly. And the next thing I know, he's going to buy CME, he's going to buy Goldman Sachs and everybody else. He's making all these different allegations of what he wants to do. So I met him, as you said, when I gave Guy and Dan the podcast the other day. But what is really interesting is how this whole thing came about, which kind of got my interest up about he is a fraud. And I met earlier in the day with the head of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and I asked, why are you not dismissing this application out of hand? And he said, because under Section 5B of the Commodity Exchange Act, which calls for innovation, he has to look at it. And I said to him, you don't have to, under the Commodity Exchange Act, have to accept anything that's innovation that puts risk management at the back seat of this. And that's exactly what was going on. So right away, my suspicions were up. Why is there so much pressure coming for this application? Then when I met with him, I knew right away, I said, this is a joke. This is absolutely going nowhere. And then you look who he's traveling with. He's traveling with Mark Wiegand, the former chairman of the CFTC. Now, what was Mark doing for him? I have no idea. Was it credibility or just carrying his briefcase, or I should say his backpack? And then he's got Ryan Miller. Ryan Miller is the former counsel at the CFTC and became general counsel of the CFTC. And this guy's sitting at a bar, could barely pick his head up, saying to me, why won't you let us grow? I said, he said he's worth $26 billion. I'm assuming you've been growing pretty good here. So you could see there was so many different red flags. And then when I got to Washington, you're looking at people like Mike Conway, former head of the Ag Committee, who was an FTX lobbyist. And I heard all these different things coming out of members of Congress. Were they putting pressure on the CFTC? I don't know. But I'll tell you what, there's a hearing come December 1st, and I hope someone has the courage to ask, was anybody putting pressure on the CFTC to move forward with an application that could have put everything at risk? And Melissa, let me say one more thing, which I think is really important. I told my team this had nothing to do with crypto. What he wanted to do was he wanted to list all asset classes, mine, the Intercontinental Exchanges, and everybody else's, under his model, which would have been, as I said, a biblical disaster.
Is it your allegation?
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And we have Cathie Woods from ARK Invest sticking to her 1 million Bitcoin by 2030. And guys, we know the masses will never understand that. She's looking at the fourth industrial revolution, where the robots, algorithms, and drones take over the economy, pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. Only thing you have to do is look at her portfolio. That's all she's invested in is the robots, algorithms, and drones. And guys, I brought it to you first. We have the CME CEO on CNBC. We have Mr. Duffy calling the bank man a fraud. And guys, in this video, we see he has a pen and he's reading off a piece of paper. He's reading on his talking points. We know Sam Bankman-Fried has some powerful people in his corner because he was working on a derivatives platform that was going to be put on blockchain and an algorithm was going to be running the whole thing. What did the chair of the CFTC say? That portion of the derivatives platform is not in bankruptcy. And we know why. We know this whole economy is going to be tokenized and put on blockchain. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
$40 million, second largest donor. I want to know where the money came from, and that's what you should be asking. Is that customer's money or was it his? Is the $16 million house that his parents are living in, is that customer money or did he make that? Where's all this money coming from? All the people, the 10 people living in a $40 million condo. Whose money is that? Whose money were they spending? Unsuspecting clients commingling the funds? I don't know the answer to that. So I think a lot of questions need to be answered. But I did say in Congress, Melissa, right after UST collapsed and it lost 85%. I said his proposal will do the exact same thing. I didn't know how right I would be in a very short period of time.
You got reprimanded for your testimony in front of Congress.
I did. Yeah, I got reprimanded by a guy that didn't have the courage to show up, but he had to come on a Zoom named Ro Khan out of California telling me I didn't know what I was talking about. I don't think Mr. Khan has a clue what he's talking about. So I'm prepared to debate him at all costs or at any time. But, you know, I don't appreciate that because he told me I was under oath and he said that they do have capital. I said they do not have. They have capital under regulatory regime, but they don't have margin capital, which I'm holding an additional $200 billion that they don't. That's the capital I was referring to. He was not quite quick enough to understand that.
When you take a look back, Terry, at this whole
greatest quarterback of all time and the supermodel wife doing a commercial, picking up the phone saying, "Are you in? Are you in? Are you in?" To me, it looks like a pump and dump scheme if you watch that commercial, and I watched it again today. People get very influenced by people like Tom and his wife and others, or his ex-wife. So, no, I'm not surprised. And I'm not surprised by the baggy shorts and the big T-shirt because it's a gimmick. And most people that wear a gimmick are also selling a gimmick.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.